as Noel mentioned, we're trying to bring together dialogue both with science and values. And we found, going back when Noel and I worked with each other at the Earth Summit, at the time, Noel, for those of you who don't know, was director of the UN Environment Program in both New York headquarters and North America for some 25 years, and along with Marie Strong were the two people that put the Earth Summit together. At the time, I was one of the 6 leaders of the Global Environment Team, which was the largest NGO at the Earth Summit. We had 150 people there, which 100 came from faith communities, the other 50 came from colleges and universities primarily. And the idea was to bring together values and the science of the time into a formulation of policy ideas. And so we've been working with that theme, as Noel mentioned, going back to the Environmental Sabbath. Our faith groups were one of the early pilot groups doing that. But our hope is that this group today, the Roundtable, can build to the larger UN community of what are called the major stakeholder groups. Out of the Earth Summit came a new policy that few people are aware of, and that is that at all of the major UN meetings with the environmental ministers of the nations or the heads of state, these major stakeholder groups have a place at the table for discussion. And they include groups like farmers and NGOs and science and technology and business and industry and women and youth and children and local governments and so forth. And we want to bring this broader group into another conversation on this issue down the road. But this is a good group to begin the conversation. We're shooting video today. If you don't want to be on the video, let us know. Otherwise, we'll assume we have consent of everybody here to be, we're going to put this on the internet and use this video to try to leverage that to larger programs and gatherings down the road. The other dimension we have here from Stetson College, Paul, where's Paul? Paul didn't introduce himself, but Paul is going to talk about some of the thinking in terms of environmental policy of what we can do with this issue as well. So we're really glad that you're joining us here today, Paul. What I want to do now is show a brief introduction of the issue from an ABC News clip, and then we're fortunate to have Shahra Anderson from Senator Nelson's office going to share some of the senator's thoughts on that in terms of policy as well. So let's look at the video first.
Tonight on World News, we turn now to the environment, and it is Oceans Week in the nation's capital. And while Washington, D.C. may be 100 miles from the nearest sea, it is where scientists and policymakers are grappling with a new problem affecting the oceans. And our Clayton Sandell has this week's Nature's Edge notebook.
When you think of global warming's effect on wildlife, it's the penguin and the polar bear that usually get all the attention. But scientists say it's these little guys, microscopic phytoplankton at the bottom of the ocean's food chain, that are facing new danger. The oceans are becoming more acidic.
This is a major concern for our ocean ecosystem.
It happens as humans burn fossil fuels. Carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere and absorbed by the oceans, 22 million metric tons every day. The water turns more corrosive to everything from shellfish to coral reefs that many species depend on. Scientists say it's a bit like osteoporosis of the ocean. And the impacts ripple all the way up the food chain.
The phytoplankton get eaten by invertebrates called zooplankton. The zooplankton get eaten by fish. The fish get eaten by mammals. The mammals get eaten by bigger mammals. And eventually you get to the top of the food web and things like people and polar bears.
Famed ocean explorer Sylvia Earle, in town to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award, says humans are profoundly changing the chemistry of the seas.
The rate of acidification is scary, coincident with the increase in CO2 in the atmosphere. This is not an accident. This is a correlation. Clearly, we have to cut back on how much carbon dioxide we're putting into the atmosphere.
Scientists say there's still a lot they don't know, but they agree it's a potentially massive problem, already affecting the ocean's tiniest creatures. For the Nature's Edge notebook, Clayton Sandell, ABC News, Washington.
We move now in the webcast to our collaboration.
My name is Shahra Anderson, and I'm the Regional Director For U.S. Senator Bill Nelson, I cover Hernando, Pasco, and Pinellas County, and I'm housed out of the Tampa office. Thank you for that. I was with Senator Nelson yesterday. We were actually at a Service Academy event for the nominees that have been appointed to the military academies here throughout the state. And one of the things I mentioned and advised him that I was going to come here today to meet with all of you. And he wanted to basically relay his sincere appreciation and interest in the matters that are discussed today. I had a letter for you all to provide and read to you, if that's okay. We had a video that we were trying to get down here so you could see him in the flesh of sorts. However, we were unable to schedule it accordingly, but we're still looking to have it to add to this particular seminar and ongoing meetings that are forthcoming. So if you bear with me, I'm going to read the letter from him. Dear friends, thank you for holding this roundtable discussion. I believe that we have a responsibility as stewards of the earth to protect our oceans, coral reefs, and marine species from ocean acidification. We have learned firsthand in Florida the impacts of ocean acidification. I've seen the damages that's been done to the coral reefs in the Florida Keys, and I'm concerned about the potential for continued and long-term impacts on the marine environment. To help combat this problem, I worked with my colleagues to pass the Federal Ocean Acidification Research and Monitoring Act, which was signed into law by President Obama on March 30th as part of a larger lands bill. This measure established an interagency committee to develop a research and monitoring plan on ocean acidification and also authorized funding to help carry out the committee's activities. You may be aware that NASA has a number of space projects that contribute to a better understanding of ocean acidification, including research focusing on improving our understanding of how ocean ecosystems respond to climate change and ocean acidification using spaceborne global observing capabilities. And in St. Petersburg, locally, from the USGS, United States Geological Study, where they are taking measurements of the chemical properties of seawater along the Gulf Coast of Florida as part of a 5-year study that began last summer. The data they collect from there will be used to help build a baseline for assessing the impact of ocean acidification on nearshore and offshore ecosystems in the Gulf of Mexico. Just as the world must work together to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, we must work hand in hand to further our scientific knowledge of ocean acidification. I look forward to continuing to work with you on ocean acidification and other issues in the Senate. Thank you again for your commitment to this issue. Sincerely, your United States Senator Bill Nelson. So I just really wanted to take an opportunity to read this to you all, to hear firsthand some of the feelings and passions that the Senator has, as I'm sure you all are aware, in regards to environment and this particular issue of ocean acidification. I am here locally, should you need anything. Ocean acidification is like my key word, so it's in my vocabulary now, I promise you. It's intact, and I'll say it in my sleep. So if you need anything, please don't hesitate just to contact me here locally. Thank you for the time.